Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshur-unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri-Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya-manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya क्षमा कीजिएगा। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। तो आज हम आप लोगों के लिए ये श्लोक हम लोग प्रस्तुत करते हैं। नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिन इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. First of all, please accept my humble obeisances. Dandavat pranams to all of you. We welcome you on day 6, which is chapter 6 in this 18-day, 18-chapter journey of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We are going to start with Dhyana Yoga today. So yesterday Krishna mentioned in chapter 5, which was action in Krishna consciousness. In chapter 2, Krishna has bestowed all kind of knowledge, jnana, to Arjuna. Then Arjuna was a bit bewildered, which is great, renunciation or karma. Then chapter 4 was described, prescribed and analyzed with the history of Bhagavad Gita as well as how the transcendental knowledge is supreme, which made Arjuna confused. What is better now? Is it renunciation or action? So Krishna told in chapter 5 that action in Krishna consciousness is better than renunciation. So we think about it. What Krishna is doing is like a supreme master. How does a guru, mentor, counselor acts? The one who is a qualified mentor or guru never discards, never disposes what is the opinion or concern by the disciple. So Krishna is not discarding. Krishna is giving the vision to discriminate and then let Arjuna decide what he wants to do. Through Krishna, through Arjuna, Krishna is actually not imposing. Krishna is helping us to visualize that what is better, and then we should conclude. So that's why we are having the free will to decide. So difference between sacrifice and karma, Krishna told karma is better. Don't sacrifice, because anyway you cannot sacrifice anything after attaining all the knowledge, after attaining jnana. Then Arjuna asked for renunciation. So the outcome of all the sacrifices, be renounced. Then Krishna clarifies again, what will you renounce? In the end, what will you renounce? Tell me. This body itself has been given to you by Krishna, by Lord. If you renounce the activities to execute the prescribed action through this body, you are actually not renouncing, you are actually humiliating. And now in chapter 6, Krishna will clarify further, saying that the method, the mode by which you say that you are trying to attain the renunciation known as Ashtang yoga, that is also not practical in this material world. So that entire description is here. We will go through the quick glance of how the shlokas can be rearranged. So as I said, chapter 5 revision was which is more beneficial, shloka 1. Then Krishna told work and devotion is actually easier than sannyasa. What can you renounce in the end, right? Then shloka 7 to 16 was be in the mood while doing the action in Krishna consciousness is I am servant of Lord, doing work allotted by him with best of my ability and handing over all the result to God. Then shloka 17 to 29, Krishna told, what is your motivation? Your motivation should be that it is for my own purification. And then Krishna has told peace formula. What was that peace formula? The peace formula mentioned Bhoktaham. I am the supreme enjoyer. Bhoktaram yagya tapsam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhidam sarvabhutanam gyatvam mam shantim rikshati. I am your best friend. Your means every living entity is best friend. I am the controller of all the planets, of all the demigods, whom you would probably be praying to attain something for this material world, or even if you are praying for salvation, because I am the supreme enjoyer of all kind of austerities and penances. So this is what Krishna spoke in the last shloka of chapter 5, 5.29. Then we start with the Dhyana Yoga today. The shloka's arrangement is like this. Shloka 1 to 9 is about advancing in Ashtang Yoga. Shloka 10 to 32, different stages of practices. Shloka 33 to 36 is about necessity of controlling the mind. So today's topic is very, very interesting actually. The takeaway point, the highlighted concern, the highlighted topic for today is necessity of controlling the mind. We will come to know that how insignificant it is to attain everything in this material world. But if our mind is not controlled, if our mind is ruling us, everything is futile. Every single effort is futile. We will go through some case studies, some examples, and we will try to make it ascertain in our mind that how important it is to control this mind. Then shloka 37 to 45 is the destination of an unsuccessful yogi, because Arjuna is worried now that it's definitely to control the mind is of supreme importance. That's why Bhagavad Gita has given the importance to this topic. So what if someone is not able to do it? I mean, this is very practical. This is to be asked. I will undertake this project, but I should know what is the consequence if I don't succeed. So the destination of an unsuccessful yogi has been described in shloka 37 to 45. And then this numbering is incorrect here again. So 46 and 47 are two shlokas which says the what is the topmost yoga. So I'll just quickly correct for everyone in the sense that we should know which shloka is covering what. So it is 46 and 47 which speaks about Bhakti yoga as the topmost yoga. Yeah. So these two shlokas will be concluded by the Lord for today's chapter, where he will mention that out of all the yogas, how this one is most supreme. So we will begin with shloka 1. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashrita Karma Phalam Karma Karya Karmam Karoti Sa Sannyasi Cha Yogi Cha Na Niragnena Chakriya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. Krishna is very clear here. Krishna is saying, if you want to really attain the spirituality, really attain your back to Godhead destination, you need to do either of the two. Either you need to do the meditation, like he's saying, attain the renounced state of life. By what? By doing the performing the sacrifices, or by getting engaged into the karma, considering it as to be the duty. If you don't do either of it, you are not the true mystic. So basically Krishna is not discarding the concept of yoga here, the different types of yoga like Ashtang yoga, Dhyana yoga, but what he will establish, that we will come to know later. So what Krishna is saying further, he is stating in Shloka 6.3, Krishna clearly says, for one who is a neophyte in the eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who is already elevated in yoga, cessation of all material activity is said to be the means. So this is Shloka 6.3 actually talks about two different stages of Ashtanga yoga. Those who cannot fix their mind and are starting to the path of Ashtanga yoga. So the one which we called as meditation and, sacrificing all physical activities by meditation, trying to attain the Paramatma. This is called Ashtanga Yoga. This Ashtanga Yoga has two stages. One is called Aruruksha. The second one is called Arudha. So Aruruksha is what has been described in Shloka 6.3. What is said here is Aruruksha is the neophyte stage of the eightfold yoga system. Here, what one needs to do is one needs to control the emotion, likes and dislikes, inner and outer conflicts. So by all means one need to bring the mind in a steady state. That is called the beginning stage of Ashtang Yoga, Aruruksha Gati, Aruruksha stage, where you are supposed to get over with your emotions, likes and dislikes, inner and outer conflicts. So what Arjuna was doing in the beginning, he had emotions, he had likes and dislikes, he has conflict, he has all that. And then Krishna told the easiest way is action in Krishna consciousness. But then Krishna thought, let me clarify. One shouldn't think that what I am proposing, like when you go for any project, right? Clients or all those kind of meetings. If you propose the most easy, most viable option to the client will definitely come up with some or more. So what people do usually, those who go as a consultant, right? They will give you the first model, second model, third model. Okay, this is one option, this is second option, this is third option. I think the third option is the optimized one. What you might missing here, I am trying to optimize all, and this is the third model. So when you go through all kind of possibilities, it is easy to choose. And human mind is like that. So Krishna knows it very well because he's the creator, right? He's the cause of all causes. So he's thinking people shouldn't just mentally speculate that what the Ashtanga Yoga is. What happens there? Why Krishna is asking to serve by all the senses, man, buddhi, all kind of mind, senses, engage, intelligence? Why is saying Krishna action in Krishna? Why is not telling about Ashtanga Yoga? So Krishna tells here, I'm telling you about Ashtanga Yoga. Please be patient and hear loud. What? Those who are neophyte needs to control, needs to get out of all the emotions. So Arjuna, you were saying in the beginning, right, that you are feeling the vulnerables getting killed. You are feeling that mostless people will get killed if you fight. That's not right. To attain Lord, which is the supreme destination of this lifetime, either by Jnana Yoga or Karma Yoga or Dhyana Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, I'm giving you the options, but you decide. Even this Ashtanga Yoga, the beginning stage, the neophyte stages, come over the emotions, come over the conflicts. What he says further? He says in Shloka 6.4 that a person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities. By doing that, so you need to get out, you need to get elevated, you need to renounce the material desire. This is still happening in your Aruruksha Gati. There are stages of Ashtanga Yoga, 1 stage, 2 stage, what you need to do there. Then what happens is actually 6.5 and 6.6 is actually the elevated stage within the Ashtanga Yoga. So as I said, Ashtanga Yoga has 2 stages, Aruruksha, Arurudha. Aruruksha means you are neophyte. You are still supposed to, based on Shloka 6.3 and 6.4, you are still supposed to fix your mind. You are still supposed to fix your mind, you are still supposed to renounce all material desires. You don't need to act for the sense gratification. You don't need to engage yourself in any kind of fruitive activities. And to attain that, Krishna will tell in Shloka 11, 12, 13, 14 what are the stages, what are the process you need to do this, yeah, to have no material desire, to have no engagement in fruitive activities, not about results, but not even the activities. Then when you elevate in this Aruruksha stage, you reach the Arur stage. What is that Arur stage? Once you have disconnected yourself, then what happens is one must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. The mind is this mind, right? So once doing that, what you are trying to attain in the Aruruksha, the beginning neophyte stage, to conquer the mind. Because if you don't conquer the mind, everything is futile. One who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. We come across so many examples, so many news, so many highlights, so many flashing broadcasts across all media platforms. A very rich person did suicide. A very successful entrepreneur, out of animosity, out of just because he didn't get any tender, he didn't get any kind of contract, he's just missed one objective in the life and is not ready to accept it. He becomes so vulnerable, he becomes so impatient that he's ready to give up his life. And we keep hearing If we go to the statistics, the number of suicidal cases, the number of court cases, all these are rising day by day. People, to say for, are being more prosperous, more materially advanced, more comfort to the material bodily actions, bodily desires, right? Now, one click, everybody you can connect with. All these things are happening. But what is not happening? What is missing? The mind training is not happening. The mind is not getting trained. And that's why the yoga helps us to meditate the mind. But the methods which are prescribed by yoga, the methods which are currently being prescribed by the yogas, different processes. This one, if we look upon it, one single mistake and we are finished. So what is being asked in all kinds of yoga, even in this Ashtang yoga, is first to fix your mind, because this mind can act as our enemy or as a controlled mind becomes our friend, best friend, because it always points us to the ultimate destination. However, an uncontrolled mind becomes our enemy. So it follows the dictation of whose? It follows the dictation of its sixth enemy: anger, greed, lust, ego, envy, animosity. All kind of uh, enemies are being ruled through this mind, right? So mind is actually ruled by all these enemies. However, those, and then what happens? We are attached to the sense gratification. If something we want doesn't achieve it, we just get out of our sense. So result becomes we became degraded and we became entangled. But if the mind is our friend, if something doesn't fall in place, we do not become so perturbed. We don't panic. We don't get perplexed, because we have knowledge in place. Our mind is controlled. Krishna is the cause of all causes. It might be my bad karma. It might be that I am being tested. It might be that something good is about to come. These kind of response originate when we are in the constant association and we are ruling the mind, not that mind is ruling us. So in that case, we elevate. Like right now, Krishna is dictating Arjuna. Arjuna is receiving the dictation from Krishna to subside his ambiguity, duality, uncertainty, unclarity. So he is getting that dictation because he is a yogi. He is called, if we remember the beginning, chapter 1, he was guna, he was, uh, he was when he was speaking, the word used was parantapa. He, the one who has killed all kind of ignorance, the biggest ignorance, the ignorance is our biggest enemy. So he has superseded that. That's why he is called yogi, and Krishna is helping him to understand that. So how mind plays the role, we see it in our day-to-day life. The same action can have different responses to different personalities depending upon their individualities. Depending upon their individualities. So we should be very, very clear about it. We should never be confused. Then Krishna says in Shloka 7, what does Krishna say? After clarifying that mind is our biggest enemy or mind is our biggest friend, he says, Jitatmana prachantasya paramatma samahita shitoshna sukha dukkheshu tatha manapamanayo. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all same. Krishna clarifies it. It is same. Doesn't stop here. He keeps continuing explaining it because it is very, very important for us to understand. He says, Suhyan mitra udasina madhyastha dveshu bandhushu sadhushvapi cha papeshu samabuddhi vishishyate. What Krishna is saying, Suhita Mitra Ari Udasena. Suhya Mitra Ari Udasena. Madhyastha Dveshya Bandhushu. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all same. Now, before going to further understand the process, how it is happening in our life, we should understand, are we on the same platform? Is our mind ruling us or we are ruling our mind? Because Krishna is saying if our mind is ruling us, we are turning into a very dangerous position where none of the knowledge I am trying to impart will actually be superseding those kind of sense gratification, that desire which has already covered your senses. So actually every living entity has two options, either to get the direct dictation from the Lord or to get the indirect dictation. So direct dictation is to follow what has been prescribed in the Shastras, and indirect dictation is what is being guided by the material senses to be done by that person. So this yoga system, which originates from Lord himself through different modes, Krishna is telling Arjuna that please be fixed, understand yourself first, get out of this external illusory energy, because it is controlling your mind, and the effect of controlling the mind is that one will not be able to follow the instruction if mind is controlling that person. So these shlokas which are going in a sequence doesn't deviate from what has been spoken so far. Yoga system has been spoken, the knowledge Gyan Yoga, the Dhyana Yoga, which is Ashtang Yoga, having these two parts of Aruruksha and Arur. So far in 1 to 9, what Krishna told Arjuna is Aruruksha is fixed mind, and then Arudha, the two stages of Ashtang, Arudha is when you have once fixed it, just be there. Don't even let for a moment to get your mind free. Don't get your mind to rule you. And if you fail to do so, it will be very harmful. So he says, how do we do that? This Aruruksha Arur, the word which we are speaking, how do we attain that? So right now, Krishna is not telling about action in Krishna consciousness. To reach to the, what is the result of action in Krishna consciousness? To attain the lotus feet of the Lord. What is the ultimate destination of Ashtanga Yoga? By fixing mind, by controlling senses, by doing everything, just be there to attain the lotus feet of the Lord. So action in Krishna consciousness, already explained last chapter. Arurur, how to attain that? That Krishna is going to tell in subsequent verses. So what is the stage? What are these stages? This is covered in the shloka 11 onwards, all the way till 17, 18, 19. Krishna will keep telling different stages. He says in Shlok 11, Shucho deshe pratisthapya sthitam asanam atmana nachushritam nati nicham Chelajina Kushottaram. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place, should lay kusa grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point. So, this is Shloka 11 and 12 where we come to know what are the different stages. First of all, you need to find a secluded place. First item itself in the checklist is very difficult to find. Secluded place. Where? 2 BHK, 3 BHK, 4 BHK, at max a courtyard, a balcony, and where is the secluded place now in this material world where everyone can go and practice, right? Earlier, there didn't used to be all these concrete buildings. People had enough ample open spaces, environment, atmosphere, all these were very clean. So first checklist, the item in the checklist itself, first item itself is very difficult. What is the second item? You should lay kusha grass on the ground. Kusha grass. So we should be not having the chair, not having, those cozy cushions and all that. No, kusha grass. Kusha grass is a kind of grass, right? And then put it on the ground. Cover it with the deer skin. Deer skin. Okay. So earlier the deer skin was very easy to find. Looks like. Now I don't know which act for which country, which geographic domain it will be applicable to get a deer skin, right? After that, put a soft cloth on it. So the place you have made like this, kusha grass, then your deer skin, then on top of that a very comfortable soft cloth. That asan, that place where you are putting this asana shouldn't be too high, too low. So maybe okay to attain, right? But after that, you should sit firmly on it, very firmly. Practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling what? Mind, senses, activities, and then keep your mind on one point. So control by doing all this, finding a secluded place, sitting firmly, having kushasana, having a deer skin on that, on top of it a soft cloth. Do what? Control your mind, senses, intelligence by just pointing on one point. Okay, that we were anyway doing in the Krishna consciousness, right? Action in Krishna consciousness. But yes, we feel very hankered what we do not get easily. So it is difficult to attain, it means it must be something precious. So that's why Krishna says, okay, I'll break all the mystery for you. What is next? Shloka 13 and 14 says, one should hold one's body, neck and head erect in a straight line and stay steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an agitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Okay, doing in the bhakti, doing in the action and Krishna consciousness, we were automatically doing all that. But here we need to do a separate endeavor for it. What we need to do? Hold body, neck, and head in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. So, we are going to keep head, shoulder, back, everything in a straight line. Both eyes pointing on the neck, tip of the nose. And then very erect. What you are trying to do? So we try for 5 minutes, right? We can try for 15 minutes while at least listening for this entire lecture. We will say it is not easy because we are not used to of it. It is difficult to hold it that way. But this is to be done for what? This is to be done to subdue our mind, getting away with any kind of fear, completely freeing ourselves from the desire of sex life and meditating upon mind, with mind and any kind of devoid of desire, just within the heart, upon whom the ultimate goal of life. So my practical realization, my whatever I have heard from the acharyas, when it is said that do not practice it, is not because it is something which is very very precious. It is precious, it is difficult to do because it is not practical basically. So that's why we should try to avoid it. And Krishna says this is the arud gati. So what in subsequent shlokas Krishna is going to say, so these 11 12 11 12 13 14 is actually the beginning stage. So once you do that, what happens from 15 to 17? Thus, practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God. So, this is the Arud Gati. Arud stays where by doing that constantly, ever since the time you are not going, till the time you are not going to leave this body, you have to be in this way only, devoid of any material desire, freeing yourself from any kind of duality, all this whatever we spoken 13 14, till the time you really leave the body, you have to attain that. Why? Because that is your stage to reach to the back to Godhead by Ashtang yoga. Then Krishna cautions in 16 and 17. If you are one who is regulated in his habit of eating, sleeping, recreating, and work, can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that who are not used to of regular eating, regular sleeping, regular meditating, those who are not able to keep themselves away from all these kind of material pains, cannot practice Ashtanga yoga. So are we regular? We can check it. I mean, we are not challenging here. We are just trying to introspect that what is most practical. And then while doing so, Krishna keeps describing some more attributes. He says in Shloka 6.25, gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction. And thus, the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. So you can see in the picture, by having all chakras, all 7 chakras we can see in one line aligned, what we are fixing our mind at? We are fixing our mind at Lord, Paramatma only, and nothing else. So, as I said, Aruksh and Arud, the two stages which we just spoke about. So, we need to do in the first stage, first 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 5 are actually 5 is partly that from 5 it starts the Arud Gati, Arud stage. But the first 4, if you see Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam. In Yam, what we are doing? Restraining. 5 restraints are there. No hurting, no lying, no stealing, sensory control, no possessiveness. Aparigraha, Brahmacharya, Astreya, Satya, Ahimsa. These are the first, these are the 5 restraints one need to begin with, which is Aru Ruksha Gati, Aru Ruksha stage. Second is Niyama, 5 observances. So Soch, which is called purity, contentment, which is called Santosha, austerity, Tapas, study, Swadhyaya, surrender, Ishwara Pranidan. What we are saying is 3 are Kriya Yoga, and first 2 are our thought process. Asana, different type of poses. Then Pranayam, controlling of vital forces. Pran, Apan, Saman, Udan, and Vyan. As we said, that Pran has actually 5 parts. When a person dies, he doesn't die immediately. He dies in the 5 stages. This is what is being called as the 5 stages of Atma, the vital force. Pran, Apan, Saman, Udan, and Vyan. Once we have gone through these 4 stages by controlling 5 restraints, by doing 5 observance, then doing the asana and controlling 5 kind of vital force, then we do all this to withdraw ourselves of the senses, which is called pratyahara. After that, from 6 stages, we can see we need to concentrate single-mindedly. So this is the Arud Gati, Arud stage, where we are starting to do it now. We continue with Dhyana, which is meditation. So concentration is we are trying to do meditation. It starts happening, and Samadhi is it is in by itself. This is the spiritual absorption. So these 5 stages helps to do what? It helps to make this 8 limbs of yoga, which says is the Ashtang yoga. Right. So one of our acharya has given this comparison of Ashtang yoga versus Bhakti yoga. So the chapter which we studied yesterday, action in Krishna consciousness, and today's one, which is Ashtang yoga, going on by this entirely 8 limbs of yoga method, we can have a quick comparison. What does it say? If we talk about manner of sitting, so for Bhakti Yoga, no such specification is given. But for Ashtanga Yoga, no high, no low, deer skin, kushagrass. Straight posture, vision on tip of the nose has to be maintained continuously, consistently, till the time we want to stay in this yoga, right? Then celibacy. You must, for Dhyana and Jnana yogis, they must keep themselves away from any kind of sex life. For Bhakti Yoga, for Grihasthas, it is allowed. Then fearlessness, no, not any kind of fear. So Ashtanga yoga needs to practice it. However, Bhakti yoga, being fully surrendered in Krishna consciousness, are actually being fearlessness. Their basics itself is fearlessness. Then object of meditation for Ashtanga yoga people is actually the only the Brahma Jyoti, the heat part, right? Vishnu Murti. But then for Bhakti Yoga, Krishna conscious people, they see Krishna everywhere, everywhere. Similarly, the goal of life and the result. So the result is that Ashtanga Yoga people will be able to seize all material existence, and they will achieve kingdom of God only after having the perfect understanding about the Lord. On the other side, Bhakti Yoga, those who are following Bhakti Yoga, those devotees, they are always absorbed in Krishna's service and has perfect understanding of Krishna. So they don't need to go through all these kinds of um, outside endeavors to fix their inner self. For Krishna conscious people, devotees, those who are acting in Krishna consciousness, like based on yesterday chapter, giving all their mind, sense, engagement, everything to Krishna, they do not need to endeavor anything separately. That understanding is always there. That basis of fearlessness is always there. So that action in Krishna consciousness also becomes very spontaneous, very practical. However, this Ashtang Yoga bothers, compels one to really keep following these things. So going further, Krishna says in Shloka 27. What does Krishna say? Krishna is saying here, Shloka 27. प्रशांत मनसा ह्येनं योगिनः सुखमुत्तमम् उपैति शांत रजसम् Brahmabhutam Akalmasham. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the modes of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reactions to past deeds. So this is how it happens. If your mind is fixed, we will be able to attain the Lord by being free from all reaction to the past deeds. But does it happen naturally? So Krishna told in Shloka 28. What does he say? He says, Yunjanevam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalpasha sukhena brahma sansparsham atyantam sukham ashnute. Thus, the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental loving service to the Lord. So far we have compared two things, right? We compared Ashtanga Yoga having two stages. We compared what is the outcome of first to move from first stage Aruruksh to Arur, and then being at Arur, what is the outcome? We need to constantly maintain this posture. We can't deviate. Then on the other side, we have Krishna consciousness. What happens in Krishna consciousness is everything is automated. Automated, which is practical. What is practicality? The practicality is the devotee by default understands Krishna to be the supreme enjoyer, supreme protector, supreme maintainer, supreme controller. 5.29, and with that every activity he doesn't need to do it separately because he dedicates all of it to Krishna. So this is what pictorially compared here. So left side we can see that how to start meditation in Ashtanga Yoga, and right side says that how being in a process of devotee one attains all three stages: Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagvana. So what on the left side someone will achieve by doing the Ashtanga Yoga is actually the one of the Brahman or Paramatma stage, and then to reach to the Bhagwan one needs to do bhakti either through Ashtanga Yoga or through Krishna consciousness actions. So this way Krishna tells that realization of Supreme Personality of Godhead or absolute truth can be done. But then it doesn't stop here, because after listening about the complexity of this mind to control the mind, Arjuna says in Shloka 33, he says, Arjuna uvacha yoyam yogastvaya prokta samyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalavata sthitam sthiram. He's saying very nice. He's saying Chanchalatva sthitam sthiram. What does it mean? He says, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and endurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. So Krishna is not Krishna who is saying only, it's Arjuna himself who says that the mind is restless and unsteady. We think about it, mind is super restless. So Krishna he continues in Shloka 34. He says, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balavadrinam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the mind. So, nature of mind has been described here. This is a takeaway for us. Anytime we confuse, anytime we are not sure why we should do bhakti, why should we be in the Krishna consciousness, we should just think about mind. This is it. Arjuna and Krishna are talking about the Chanchala mana, the nature of mind, and that will help us to remind that why we shouldn't do anything like many times people say, right? Can we chant without beats? Can we chant without beats? We can just say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Why to have the beats? Why to have the mala in our life? It is because Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. We will keep using our senses, using one of our oral sense, listening. We can keep chanting, but if it's not reaching to the mind, so there is always one picture, right, that there is a switch connection. So once the switch is falling through the mind, and then this is our that plug. So if these two are not connected from within, what you speak doesn't go to your mind and you don't contemplate it, or what you hear doesn't connect. So everything has a switch connection, every sense through the mind. If that doesn't flow there, then this is futile, this is useless. So what is the nature of mind? It is flickering. It raises doubts due to attachment. It rationalizes attachments. This is mine, this is yours. It does that. Then obstinate and strong, clings on to the attachment, cannot get through thoughts out. Every time mind is thinking something. Every time, every single moment, mind is thinking something. Then comes the turbulent, breaks down all walls. If you ask mind, if you ask yourself not to do this, believe me, that goes in your subtle memory, and at one point of time you would really like to do what you thought of not doing at one point. Why? Because Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. If someone is kept, you kept someone inside a room and then you lock the door, that is not the person's freedom. At the same time, if the person locks the door from within, it is his freedom. So if we control the mind, that is our state of freedom. But if mind controls us, that is the utmost uh, condemned situation, because then we are already on the journey where we are not going to control the things happening resultant with ourselves. That's why Krishna has to interfere here. Krishna speaks in Shloka 35. What does he say? Shri Bhagwan Uvacha Asanshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigram Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena Chagriyate. Lord Shri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. So again, the topic dwells down to the point of practice and detachment. This is what Krishna told. Being in Krishna consciousness, you are automatically practicing to control your mind, and you are practicing to engage it to the higher taste. But why we are talking about Ashtang yoga is so that it doesn't appear any mystery. It doesn't appear mystery anymore. So Krishna gives us the takeaway point for mind management. You can see it. It is very, very helpful. It is very applicable actually. Controlling the mind, Shloka 6.35. What does it say? Suitable practice and by detachment. So what is practice? Practice is abhyasen, the one we saw in the Arud Gati, right? Arud stage, advanced stage. Do following 9 process of bhakti, eternally chanting. And then comes the detachment, that detach your mind from all kind of activities, and not only that, devote it to the Lord, right? Devote it to the Lord, not just detach, but devote it to the Lord. So this is the way to fully control. So Arjuna, when he hears all this, that okay, mind is complicated, mind is difficult to maintain, then but still we can do it with vairagya, detachment, we can do it with jnana, we can do it abhyasa, practicer. He's asking a question, very practical question, like all of us. What does he say? He's saying, Arjuna uvacha Ayati Shraddhayopeto Yoga Chalati Manasa Aprapya Yogo Samsiddhim Kamgatim Krishna Rikshati. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desires or desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism?" So Arjuna is asking, like any one of us, what happens, Krishna, if I don't succeed on this path of either the Krishna consciousness or what to call this Ashtang Yoga? So Krishna clarifies it. Krishna speaks in Shloka 40. What does Krishna say? Krishna is saying, Shri Bhagavan Vacha Parthnaveh Namutra Vinashastasya Vidyate Nahi Kalyan Kritkasche Durgatim Tat Gachati. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, son of Parth, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities, does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. So Krishna assures here, Krishna gives us that protection attitude here. He takes over the authority. He establishes the fundamental principle of worshipping the Lord is what the one who worships the Lord never meets anything evil in this material world. Any destruction cannot happen without that authority's advice, that authority's prescription. That's why when we go for any seva, it is always said, go and get blessings from the Lord first. It is very important because in the end, to do that service also, mood is received by Krishna when we dedicate it fully to him. So once he said that, once Arjuna asked for it, Krishna will continue. He will say, don't worry. Shloka 40 says, after the short practice, the one who deviates from this path, even though apparently he appears unsuccessful yogi, but there are two stages where this yogi will be standing. What are those two stages? Outcome of those two stages is eternal benefit. After short practice, if the devotee fails on this path, devotee enjoys on higher planets and then takes birth in an aristocratic family. So this answers our first dilemma when we say why bad things happen to good people. So many a time those practicing soul who were unsuccessful in the previous life, after going through certain upper planets, they come back to this material world and then they take birth in a very opulent family. It can be very powerful, very wealthy, anything. Why Lord does that to them is to revise, to remind them to use these opulences for the service of the Lord. If devotees remember it by the association of nature, mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, then that devotee becomes successful in this very lifetime in spite of having other things. But if he does not, meaning after getting all kind of opulences, possible opulences to the possible extent, if devotees indulge in sense gratification, then the downfall begins. And what we see is, oh, you see, he's the son of very rich man, and that's why the rules doesn't matter to him, be it the school rule, traffic rule, society rules, because he thinks he's the son of a very big opulent person. So he's kind of misusing, and we say this is what that person doing no good deeds but is still very happy. Good things happen to bad people. So this happens when devotee actually is not able to revive his relationship. Now let's talk about the second type of devotees. Those devotees who practice for a very, very, very long time. And just before reaching, just they were about to enter the kingdom of God, about to enter the transcendental planet, about to reach back to the Godhead, they fall. So those who have practiced for very, very long time, Krishna doesn't send them to the higher planet. What does Krishna do? Krishna says they get birth in a family of devotees so that they do not get bewildered. So meaning those who have practiced for lesser time, they still are in that karma quota, where they will be in the opulent family. There they might still have chance to forget their to revive his eternal relationship with the Lord. But those who have really practiced for very long in this lifetime itself, Krishna gives them the birth in a devotee family, so that there is no chance for their forgetfulness. So that association of nature in a way is also being sanctioned by Krishna. In this case, this is being demonstrated very, very clearly here. So in the end, what is the takeaway point for us? There can be karma yoga, there can be jnana yoga, there can be bhakti yoga, there can be dhyana yoga. In karma yoga, we actually try to align our senses. In Jnana Yoga, we enrich our mind. In Dhyana Yoga, we apply our regulated senses and our mind, which is accomplished with the Jnana, in by developing our intelligence. In the Bhakti Yoga, we are always cautious of the soul part, our identity part. So Krishna will declare here in this chapter today that Bhakti Yoga is topmost. First of all, these were the 4 yogas, and then out of that, he says that Bhakti Yoga is the topmost. So, who can tell us which is the best yoga? Who can tell us which is the best electronic equipment to buy? The person who owns the shop, right? He knows. He knows the features, he knows the basics, he knows the do's and don'ts, he knows the outcome, he knows how much is the purchasing cost and selling cost, how much is the profit, everything he knows, right? Similarly, Lord is the one who has done all this, so he's the one going to tell us what is the topmost yoga out of all these 4 yoga. Before that, we have the question, how to know who is the yogi itself? So the one whose life and activities are aimed at establishing one's relationship with God is actually the topmost yogi. Whose life and activities are aimed at establishing one's relationship with the God is the topmost yogi. And then once you are in the topmost yogi stage, when you look back, comparison of karma kand, nishkam karma, gyan, ashtang and bhakti, you can see the steps have been arranged in the elevated manner. So on the most elevated stage is bhakti. Just before that is the ashtanga. Why is that? Because in ashtanga you need to constantly, effortfully need to control your mind senses by 8-fold path. You just cannot get rid of it. Throughout your life, if you want to do Ashtanga Yoga, you need to follow those prescriptions which have been given from Shloka 17 to 32. Then after that, Gyan, Karma and Nishkam, we have spoken a lot. So now Krishna is revealing by his own that who is the best yogi. He's saying in Shloka 47, he's saying, Yogi namapi sarvesham मद्गतेनन्तरात्मना श्रद्धवान् भजते यो मां समे yukta tamo mata. And of all the yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving services to me, he is the most ultimately united with me in yoga and is highest of all. That is my opinion. This is the first time Krishna is saying that is my opinion, because he thought it is very, very clear. He thought it is very, very important to clear here that what is the end objective of all kind of yoga, to attain me. So those who does that is actually, I have categorized them in 4 classification, and the ultimate one is the one who intimately serving me all the time. So either by any modes, but intimately serving me. That's why people put more inquiry that out of these 4, so far we have seen all 4, the Bhakti Yoga looks very, very practical. What does it define with? It can be defined with connection of soul to God. Then the question comes, how practical it is. Can I practice Bhakti Yoga in my family life? Of course. Arjuna was a king and a family man. Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to him. If we remember, what is needed for Bhakti Yoga? When we were talking Divya Jnana, we were talking about what is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is simply for us to connecting. And being in the family life, we are doing it, right now we are not going anywhere else. We are doing it being in the family, offer food, doing deity worship, association. That ABCDE formula is the Bhakti Yoga. So association, book, chanting, congregational chanting, deity dressing, diet, all this comes into the Bhakti Yoga, dedicating all of things, all the karmas to the Lord. Then the question is, what should I do now? I mean, we know these two lines, like spirituality a retirement program? So the answer is no. The entire life is for preparation. For what? For death, which is an examination. And we should always give importance to spirituality, because that helps us to come to our senses, to remember this preparation and examination concept. So that senses come in place when we pray to the Lord, who is God of all senses, right? His one name is Hishikesha. So he is the ultimate God. None of the desire can be put in a situation where it entangles us to back to Godhead. If there is any entanglement, any impediment, then it is not helpful for us. So while explaining these questions, he asked, I mean, if we being in a congregational discussion or anywhere, we can always ask that what is it which I should do now? The last question, what should I do now? First of all, we need to accept that I am sick and I need help. What are the symptoms of our sickness? Why we are sick? Because we have four problems: Adi Adhyatmika, Adi Bhautik, and Adi Devik. We have these three uh, miseries of life, and then we have four problems: birth, death, old age, and disease. So four problems, three miseries makes sure that we are sick and we need help. If we do not know that, then there is a big problem, right? Then after we know it, we need to approach the right doctor. So just having a white coat from the market and a stethoscope doesn't make us a doctor. We need the qualification. We need to gain that degree. Similarly, just by having a book in our hand, we cannot claim to be a guru. We cannot claim to be a master. We cannot claim to be a spiritual guide or mentor. What is important is, it is said here, it should be in parampara. It should be in the disciplic succession. It should be in parampara. There are four paramparas: Kumar Sampradaya, Madhva Sampradaya, our Nimbak Sampradaya, and Brahma Sampradaya. So Srila Prabhupada, whose book we are following here, he actually comes into the one of these Sampradaya, Brahma Sampradaya. And Madhva. So the idea Madhva, we can take it will come in a session where we can take all four kinds of sampradayas in detail. Who is the owner of which sampradaya, and who has been the great acharyas in each of these sampradaya. But in the interest of time for present topic, these are the 4 points we should remember. Once we have known the nature of our mind, we have known the nature of Ashtang yoga, we have understood the complexity, yet there is no other way for us to get out of this material life, then it is best for us to surrender. But while surrendering, we need to keep these 4 points in our mind. First one, as I told, is to understand that we are sick, so we need a particular medicine. Then we need a particular doctor. For every body organ we have a specialist. So for this spiritual disease also, we need a bona fide spiritual master, a guru, bona fide, coming into the disciplic succession. Then while doing that, once we have found the doctor says, okay, you have this sickness, you need to avoid this. So there are certain things we are asked to avoid even in the material sickness. So in the spiritual sickness, similarly, we have been told to avoid 4 things, and these 4 things are called the 4 pillars of religion. Meat eating, because by meat eating, mercy is lost. Gambling, truthfulness is lost. Intoxication, austerity is lost. And illicit sex, cleanliness is lost. By applying these 4 positive treatment, meaning once we are very, very sure that these 4 things have been avoided, we should apply the positive treatment. We should do A, B, C, D. Association of book, devotee association, chanting holy name of the Lord, and the diet part. So these are the 4 things. And once we do that, Krishna is saying, actually in Kali Santaran Upanishad it has been said, Iti Shodashakam Namna Kali Kalmashanashanam Nata Parat Trayopaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. After searching through all the Vedic literatures, one cannot find a method or of reason more sublime for this age than the chanting of Hare Krishna. So this is what where I want to finish this session for today. And a very simple takeaway is chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and be stress free. Once we are stress free, we are calm, cool, composed, our mind is in place, we can attain Lord by doing the action in Krishna consciousness or by Ashtang Yoga. But for Kali Yuga, the preferred mode is not the Ashtang Yoga, but it is Krishna consciousness, action in Krishna consciousness, because we have gone through the complexities of the Ashtang Yoga. And in the end, what we get after Ashtang Yoga is also the thing which is not very practical to retain. So we should try to do that. So with that, we will kind of finish this chapter today, chapter 6. The chapter 7, from chapter 7 onwards, it's going to be start very, very important journey for us. By today, we have covered 1/3 of the Bhagavad Gita. For our 18 days, 18 chapter, we have covered 6 days. So far, if you all feel there is anything you want to highlight to me, please write in the chat box, comment box, give me personal comments back. In case you find it is useful, do not hesitate to circulate it as well. And the ultimate thing which we talked about is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. With that, we will finish the session for today. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai.